Let's go through every Big 12 championship conference championship title game scenario. These are so stupid complex. So the Big 12, right, has been on its heels. Let's preface this. The Big 12 has been on its heels because there was a rule clarification where Barry Tramwell said, hey, based on your rules, Kansas State gets to go to the Big 12 championship, but they lost to Oklahoma State. And the Big 12 said, yeah, you know what? Barry's right. Let's have a conversation about this. And that conversation is going to go that we're going to clarify. And by clarify, we mean change. Now, Oklahoma State's going to go. Well, here's a release that they sent me and everybody else in the media that says if Texas wins and they clinch a berth on Friday, if Texas wins and clinches a berth on Friday, the following scenarios apply on Saturday. So the very likely thing is that Texas will beat Texas Tech in Austin. That's the very likely thing. The most likely thing here, the most likely thing, period, is that Texas wins on Friday. Boom, ticket punched. Then Oklahoma State beats BYU. Boom, ticket punched. Nothing else has to happen. If Oklahoma State defeats BYU and Texas beats Texas Tech, those two teams are playing in Arlington. We get to see their matchup for the first time this season. Well, if Oklahoma defeats TCU on Friday, and that win is followed by a Texas win and an Oklahoma State loss. So OU has to win. Texas wins. Oklahoma State loses to BYU. It's a Red River rematch in Arlington. So we need Oklahoma to beat TCU, Texas to beat Texas Tech. Those two teams are in a good spot. If Oklahoma State loses to BYU, those two teams play in the Big 12 championship. Listen to this one. This is where we get crazy. If Kansas State defeats Iowa State on Saturday and Texas wins on Friday, so Texas has won on Friday, we get to Saturday and Kansas State beats Iowa State. Oh, and by the way, Oklahoma lost to TCU on Friday and Oklahoma State loses to BYU, then Kansas State can get in. Listen again. This is tough. If Kansas State wins against Iowa State, that's the first thing that might not happen. But if they beat Iowa State and Texas has already taken care of business against Texas Tech, Oklahoma gets upset by TCU and Oklahoma State gets upset by BYU, which both of those things are very unlikely. In that wild scenario, we get, in my opinion, the best Big 12 championship, Texas versus Kansas State. The two teams that are playing the best football this time of year, Texas and Kansas State. Will that happen? A lot has to go right. Speaking of a lot having to go right, if you're in Iowa State and you sit there and you think, wait a second, we have 3 losses in Big 12 play. If this happens, wait a second. Hey, there could be a lot of teams with 3 losses in Big 12 play. This could be actually like a real thing. Yeah, I can't unpack for you an exact scenario in which Iowa State goes to the Big 12 championship. I can't say, hey, it needs this, and this to happen because, listen, hear me out for just 1 second. Just try to work with me here. If TCU beats Oklahoma, if TCU goes in and beats Oklahoma, which is not likely, but TCU goes in, they take care of business somehow. Then Oklahoma's 6-3. Texas Tech beats Texas. They are 6-3. Texas Tech, that is. And then Oklahoma State loses to BYU. That's another 6-3 team. And then West Virginia beats Baylor. That's a 6-3 team. And Iowa State beats Kansas State. Those are both 6-3 teams. And Iowa State has a tiebreaker above Kansas State. At that point, my brothers and sisters in Christ, things get real complex. I can't begin to unpack for you how the Big 12 would divvy that. They don't include that in the email. They were like, you know what? We just don't even want to bring up the ultimate doomsday scenario. Instead, they give us this. The Big 12 says this. If Texas Tech wins on Friday, if they upset Texas, no team can clinch a bid to the championship until Saturday. So the result of the TCU and Oklahoma game will not tell us who goes to Arlington yet. Texas can still go to the championship if 2 of these 3 2-loss teams lose. If Kansas State, Oklahoma State, 2 of those 3 lose on Friday or Saturday, Texas still gets to go to the Big 12 championship. Now listen to this. If Texas loses on Friday and Kansas State, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State all get wins, we get real complex. At that point, we can still keep Texas out of the Big 12 title. If you're listening at home and there's one thing you take away from this segment that you can bring to the water cooler, we need Texas to lose. Because at that point, 3 teams that are favored, if those 3 teams take care of business, we can keep Texas out of the Big 12 championship. If Texas, here's a crazy one, loses on Friday and 2 or 3 2-loss teams win, that being Kansas State, Oklahoma State, there will be 3 or 4 teams tied for both championship berths. And here's what the Big 12 says before they change the rules verbatim. Multiple scenarios exist in this circumstance, contingent on which teams remain in a tiebreaker pool. That's the verbiage the Big 12 is going to use here, is that in these scenarios, if we get to the finish line and 3 or 4 teams are tied up or 6 teams are tied up, there are multiple things that could happen. That's how vague they're going to lay it out there and just say, bear with us. We don't want to do the math yet. Let's see what happens on Friday and go from there. So if you are a fan, a God-loving Big 12 fan, we are just rooting for Texas Tech this week. Everybody combined together, all of our forces in one, rooting for Texas Tech to beat Texas. And, you're a UT fan. You're like, oh, that's so mean. He's rooting against the Longhorns and he's discriminatory against the Longhorns. Buddy, you nailed it. You nailed it. Those are the scenarios that we know as of right now per the Big 12. Coming up, Big 12 expansion looks to be in a new era. There's a new... help me. You're going to have to help me in this next one. This is Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by the place that I go to make money. That's FanDuel.com. People talk about passive income. I talk about FanDuel. What's the difference? FanDuel.com/locked on. Yesterday, I'm sitting around watching the old NFL, tossing the pigskin around. It's like, you know what? I think the Detroit Lions, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Houston Texans are all going to win. If I parlayed it together, built a little parlay, those 3 teams, plus 100. So if I put $100 in, I win $100 back. And guess what? It wasn't pretty. They were close games. I was sweating it, but I had a blast watching those 3 teams win, and money from FanDuel will be put in my bank account. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bets. If you just put $5 in the Cowboys to beat the Panthers yesterday, you get $150 in bonus bets. Any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on. Kick off the NFL season. It's FanDuel.com/locked on to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel is FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.